Welcome to not only the home of British motorsport, but also the birthplace of the Formula One World Championship. It's race day here at Silverstone, a classic on the calendar, and it's time for the British Grand Prix. Silverstone circuit then is 3.6 miles long, has a total of 18 corners, and of course is no stranger to the rain. There won't be any DRS available in these conditions, but the Wellington and Hangar straights are still good opportunities to tuck into the slipstream and make a pass. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, edging out Lando Norris, who'll start from P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Russell, Oscar Piastri, Golden Boy, Albon, Alonso, Antonelli, and Isaac Hadjar, Ocon, Hulkenberg, Pierre Gasly, and Colapinto, Sainz, Lawson, Yuki Tsunoda, and Lance Stroll. Behrman and Gabriel Bortoleto rounds off the grid. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. And alongside me today is a man who needs no introduction, but I'll try anyway. It's Ant Davidson. I love being here at Silverstone. I know you do too. Mainly because we get to sleep in our own houses for a week. But what do the drivers enjoy most about this track?
Well, Silverstone's such a challenging circuit, Crofty, more so for the car than the driver, because these high-speed corners at Silverstone really test this modern-day F1 machinery to its maximum. We don't get that many times throughout the calendar. I can only think of Suzuka and Spa, maybe Qatar as well, with that high-energy cornering that you get here at Silverstone. So the drivers love throwing the car around through corners like Copse, Maggots and Beckett's, for example, and it's really influential for your lap time as well.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down. conditions don't look like they're shifting. We're predicting at least 20 minutes of heavy rainfall. Decent parking. Let's try and get a good launch as the lights go out. Okay, so that's the rest of the grid forming up now. Be patient and watch for those lights.
Hey, hello everybody, welcome here to the Silverstone. We are aiming to be on the podium here, obviously to our left. And yeah, but now it's all about the correct parking. We are aiming to win this iconic race for the fourth time. Let's go, young Sun champion, 64th victory. All wet, full wet weather conditions. We are using no battery at the start. This is it. Lewis Hamilton is leading Kaloyan.
Okay to use your overtake button. Weather's changing now, we're going to have to change strategy, so it's time to box. set by drivers on intermediates. Box for inters. Okay, we can take you this lap. Okay, go, go, go! Your late turn-in meant we had a slower than planned pit stop, I'm afraid. Okay, stay clear of the white line on the exit or receive a penalty for dangerous driving if you cross onto the track. Great manoeuvre, you made it look so easy. Gap to your teammate ahead, 19.0 seconds. Tyre condition still looking good. trailing the car ahead by 3.7 seconds. Managing your tyres, manage your tyres. Times are a little erratic at the moment. Let's try and close up the difference between them. creating some breathing space between you and the car behind by a few seconds a lap. Really good stuff.
No tyre concerns at the moment, just focus on the driving.
heavy rainfall, here to stay for a while. Doesn't look like it's moving on anytime soon. Okay, keep an eye on that gap ahead, please. 3.2 seconds. Okay, Lewis is in for his stop. Don't forget, you've got more control than ever over your EOS mode, so play around with them in your MFT. Okay, so we're leading our teammate by 5.7 seconds. Right, we need to get past here. Use overtake, use overtake. Happy that we're on the right tyres at the moment. Okay, really good. You hit that target nicely. There's a long way to go in this race, so let's keep it clean. tyre for now. Keep taking care of them. Nice overtake. Gap to your teammate behind, 4.3 seconds. dropping back by about 0.3 a lap. Well done. Okay, so gap to the car ahead, 2.8 seconds. Radar suggests that this heavy rain will be with us for a while now. Okay, mate. Okay, Piastri just ahead. Push hard, push hard. They're holding us up now, so let's please try and get past as soon as possible and get on with our race. Push, push. Track's drying, but it's going to take a while to clear the standing water offline. Don't start thinking about slicks just yet. seconds. Starting to catch the car in front, but we need to look after the tyres. We won't be making another pit stop. Gap to the car in front, 3.5 seconds. Okay, gap ahead, 2.0 seconds. Job. That was the fastest lap of the race so far. Great stuff. It looked like you made easy work of that target. Let's try and keep that going right through to the end of the race. Okay, gap to the car in front, 18.5 seconds. Happy that we're on the right tyres at the moment. car ahead, 19.1 seconds. next one a very fast lap. Drying, but it's going to take a while to clear the standing water offline. Don't start thinking about slicks just yet. Mate, you made that look easy. Nice work. That's why I love working with you. Smashed it. Okay, so we're leading our teammate by 7.7 seconds. so far. Okay, keep an eye on that gap ahead, please. 7.2 seconds. gear shifting, we're predicting at least 20 minutes of heavy rainfall. Starting to catch the car in front, but we need to look after the tyres. We won't be making another pit stop. Okay, so gap to the car ahead, 6.1 seconds. ahead, 2.5 seconds. Someone's come off ahead of you. There's a yellow flag ahead. Green flag. In front, 1.7 seconds. Running low on ERS. Reminder that you can play around with ERS modes in the MFD or lift sometimes and ease onto the brake pedal for some manual recharge. Behind, 11. 5 seconds. 5 10 a lap. Yes, mate, I'll take that. Well done. We're really happy with the podium down here, so well done. Yes.
And here he comes. It's all go, go, go for Lando Norris as he takes the checkered flag and wins.
To come here and take victory as a team today on home soil was so important. You can see how much it means to them. The drivers there doing their part. The team's strategy was perfect as well. And the fans really embraced that. What a great atmosphere we had here today.
And it's time for that special moment for our special three today. The podium awaits our top three finishers. He raises the trophy over his head. Lando Norris, head and shoulders above the rest today. Well, what an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
2.7. Dumble cup, nice one. Wow. At one point we were outside of the points. Out of the championship. And now we made it for a P2. Come on, Jan, come on. Really happy with the podium for P2, but should have been P1, should have been our fourth victory. But yeah, driver of the day, your first driver of the day, because you know we really went for it. We are not unhappy that Norris obviously won because they retired before. But man, what a recovery drive! Hamilton really should have won the race. They stopped for the tires, but I had such a bad beginning, especially on the full wet tires, you know. But I'm there, yeah! And of course, Verstappen crashed out with about 5-6 laps to go, so that means that we are improving our lead of the championship by 8 points to 19 points. That is right. So yeah, absolutely fantastic result over here. Yes, Jans, Rolling champion. We didn't think we would be so happy for P2. Man, but you know, if we were there from the beginning and pole position, yeah, come on, yeah. Wow, what a trophy, yay! Yeah, that's a trophy, yeah, that should have really been ours. You know, I would have loved to celebrate over here, but yeah, this is our fourth podium, 80th podium of our Ferrari illustrious career. Let's celebrate, la 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 la, la 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 la. Wow, what a great result by Jan. The Smiling Sun champion over here. You know, this is exactly what we were looking for. And yeah, to be honest, you know, we should have really come with the fastest lap, but you can see Verstappen, he crashed out. So what that meant, of course, was that he lost the second place. But man, what a race, yay! You know, I have to say, you know, why are we so happy about it? Well, we started in P6, right? So that was a disastrous, obviously, starting position. But I think if we started first, we could have kept the place, and we had, you know, the ultimate pace on the intermediate. So we were the fastest, and you know, this will give us a great confidence. You can see in Australia when we finished second, it was a big defeat, but here we were really in the class of our own, even though Norris was just between the 2/10. Obviously, Verstappen has the fastest lap by 1.5 seconds, but it's because, you know, he crashed out and he had to, basically change, you know, he was able to almost, you know, get back to Hamilton. But what a surprise that Lewis Hamilton, you know, was the only one who stopped. I mean, if they all stopped, then I would be probably, definitely running first. And, you know, I should have then, you know, being able to, you know, keep it to the rest of the race. So basically after 5 laps, you know, as the racing line started to appear, you know, at that point, you know, we lost position to Alonso and Antonelli, so we were running 8th. So far from perfect, but you know, we could tell that we have a pace, and you know, once we figured out over there where we had the advantage with this beautiful team propo, you know, we really went for it. And yeah, you could see I was flying, especially to Beckett, and Beckett always took 1 second out of them, even out of the stove, and you know, pretty much this was a great performance. So you can see sometimes second place you would be very disappointed, like in Barcelona, right? We were even cursing, and over here now in Canada, you know, we were soundly beaten by Hamilton, but here we were beaten by Norris, but we could have caught him, you know, if obviously, you know, we haven't lost, you know, most of the time, you know, fighting the other guys, man. But you know, when we basically we stopped 1 lap later, so we were leading for a while for 1 lap, and then, you know, we switched to intermediates, right? And we went, you know, all the way, you know, to the finishing line. So actually you wouldn't get much of an advantage, you know, changing the tires. So nobody changed, and yeah, I thought that was probably the right decision. Yeah, so basically, you know, what happened was, you know, then very quickly we got, you know, we figured out that we had 1, 2, 3 seconds, you know, up, but we were in P11, so we overtook guys like Hülkenberg, Hadjar relatively quickly, you know, and then, you know, it took a while, you know, behind Antonelli, we almost crashed out, you know, with Alonso as well, and, you know, thankfully we didn't, because, you know, once we were able, you know, to get up the pace, especially once we overtook them, we always took out like 2 seconds out of them, and they were pretty much gone. So we overtook Antonelli, Alonso, right? You know, then chased down Piastri, he overtook Albon, we overtook him, we overtook Piastri, you know, and we basically went through them one by one. We didn't overtake Hamilton and Verstappen, the world champions, because Hamilton, he stopped relatively early before the midway point of the distance. I don't know, probably, made a mistake as well. The car wasn't in optimal condition. Same for Verstappen. It happened, right in front of the stove over there. And yeah, then, we basically, had a big gap, 20 seconds to Russell, but we were able to hunt him down and beat him by 0.6 seconds. So what a performance! Yes, Felix, our champion! Yes. So absolutely, just like Michael Schumacher, absolutely dominant here in the wet. But yeah, it's a pity that we haven't won. We cannot catch a break. Only Brazil and Las Vegas last year in 2024 season was the last time that we won 2 on the trot. Here obviously after celebrating our happy birthday with a fantastic victory in Austria, we were once again flying, especially in the second part of the race, right? Once I saw that Hamilton, had the fastest car, and so kind of did McLaren's with Norris, especially. Definitely not in Piastri's hands. He finished 1 minute behind him. I just then started pumping in the fastest laps, and if I hadn't made a bit of a mistake, we would have been maybe 25 seconds behind Norris. But yeah, basically the issue was that we already lost the time. When you then fight with a guy like Russell, right, you of course lose time, with the back markers or everything. So Piastri really cost us over here, because and frankly speaking, the stewards, I mean, that's a ridiculous penalty. There was maybe the merest of touches. Piastri brake tested me. I've gotten a 5-second grid penalty for pretty much nothing, and it kind of destroyed our race, because we did a good job. We've gotten through the first laps just okay, but we were quite conservative, quite cautious. Haven't made up any places, lost places. That's unusual for us. But yeah, once the tires were up to the temperature, and especially once I knew, where I could push, I was unstoppable. And that's a real pity, because if I was at the front of the field, I could have kept the place. So, and then of course, we would have just been able to create a gap and go for a very special victory, for a very special trophy. Hasn't happened, so we won't be, putting any, obviously, medals and shiny golden Formula 1 Grand Prix winner trophies over here. But yeah, second place, this is great for a championship. We took actually more points out of Verstappen than last race at the Red Bull Ring, so definitely things to be pleased on. We will be leading by 19 points. As I said, it's 19, and this is really great, because we are going to go to Belgium. Let's win the sprint, to cement our lead in the sprint drivers championship. You can see it there. Surprisingly, the third sprint actually takes place at the beginning of the second half of the season. And then, of course, we will go for the Belgium Grand Prix. Again, we should be very competitive. It is the place where we equal Michael Schumacher's great victory of 13 out of 14 wins from the opening 14 rounds. So, a lot to look forward to, and yeah, we can then establish a gap of over 1 race distance, and then hopefully go into the summer break again leading the championship comfortably, which I think we definitely deserve. So I hope you guys enjoyed over here. What a pity that in the end, Verstappen took that fastest lap. Now, otherwise it would definitely be ours. Would have been great to get the 66 fastest lap or 64 victory. That didn't happen, but we've got an 80th pole position and of course 80th podium, and it tastes very sweet. Let me tell you that over here. So after Independence Day, now let's enjoy the summer for a while before we go for another double header, and then enjoy summer for real. This is Jan, Felix, our champion, chasing 5 Formula 1 World Drivers titles for Scuderia Ferrari in style, like a true champion, like Michael Schumacher. Hope you guys enjoyed over here. We actually played day after Father's Day, so I'm kind of happy that we didn't spoil, that record. But yeah, what a great race, and yeah, this will give us a lot of confidence, because now I think we can say we are competitive in all the different weather conditions. So let's go for the title. So everybody, say it with me. We love racing, we love Formula 1, we love Ferrari. Forza Ferrari! From drivers of the day, my first driver of the day, I cannot believe Jan Moksha, who made it from 11th to 2nd to cement his lead of the Drivers' Championship. We love racing, we love Formula 1, we love Ferrari. Forza Ferrari! have what it takes to collect that 5th Formula 1 World Drivers title. Oh yay! Oh yeah. So over here, obviously you've already seen this magnificent race that I've driven with this beautiful SF1000T N18 Formula 1 racing simulator in this beautiful Team Pro Polo. Very, very comfortable, and I really needed it in these heavy rain, torrential conditions at times. But overall, what a fantastic performance this was. So in this race reaction, we will obviously examine, what we should have done to win. Well, I guess stay clear of Piastri, who just like Alonso on purpose has gotten us penalized. I think it's maybe, the F125 doing it on purpose because they can see I have that ultimate pace. And of course, we will, then also, take a look at, one very special achievement, that I had, after we watched the exclusive Formula 1 highlights. Of course, we will take a look at the drivers and the Constructors' Championship, especially the Drivers' Championship, which I really managed to turn upside down in the space of this electrifying 52-lap British Grand Prix. No wonder the Formula 1 was born here, because it was another thriller, another very exciting race, much better than, for example, the F1 movie, you could definitely say so, right? Then we will also take a look at, our overall driver rating, what it means. Then, in the fight for the title, obviously, the teammate and the rating fight as well. And yeah, we will talk about that special achievement that we have gotten, but sadly, it is not the 4th Formula 1 Grand Prix victory here, but it is our 4th podium, 80th podium overall. So yeah, it feels, I was actually, as you can see when I crossed the line, really happy, with the 2nd place, because at times, I even dropped outside of the points, and, you simply wouldn't believe it after you watch on that beautiful Scarlet Retina Ferrari iMac, my amazing performance in qualifying. You would think, that I definitely had the ultimate pace, but because I've gotten that 5-second great penalty, I had to start 6th, and I could feel that there is hardly any grip as we were going around. Sir Lewis Hamilton obviously was then starting from that pole position. But because he was going so slowly, and I can kind of understand that, it pretty much meant that, my tires were, quite cold at the beginning of the race, also the brakes, everything. So yeah, again, lowest starting position, equal with Saudi Arabia. So, I just wanted to make sure, that, I get unscathed through the turns, and, I think, prepare the car pretty well. We all started on the blue mark, the full wet tires, and I have to say, once the five red lights went on, once I engaged, the clutch and let it go, actually, I did have a pretty good pull-away. You can see it in the official F1 highlights as I was looking, okay, for any kind of the free space. But yeah, you just have to go really slowly. You could literally tell that there is no grip, and I took it again. I was conservative going through the first few corners, definitely the first few laps, even though my engineer Mark was like, okay, try to go for some overtakes. That might have, saved my race, because it is true that, I've got overtaken by Alonso, who absolutely, went past me, down the Hungary straight. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, how did that happen? But it was mostly because I had to lift, through pretty much, the first 5-6 turns, and that was why, he was able to get such a good run up. And it took me a couple of laps, to really get settled, because, I was kind of able to keep up, but, the cars behind me were doing really well. And Andrea Kimi Antonelli, has managed to pull a really great move, going via cups. We even touched, thankfully nothing happened to the car, but it also meant that Albon went through. Man, I dropped to P9, and I was like, okay, I have to find some pace. And actually, by the end of the following lap, lap 3, I was already finding that pace. I was already starting to turn purple and started to, attack the guys. But, by that point, obviously, we were a bit behind. And for a while, I actually then led the race, because everybody all of a sudden realized, it's time to go to the intermediates. But obviously, I didn't want to get stuck, in the pits, behind me, guys coming, at every couple of seconds and so on. That means that, there was a big danger to, what happened to some of the drivers, like Lewis Hamilton, for example. I think it happened to him, as well. But you can easily be held for a couple of seconds, so your pit stop is not 2 or 3 seconds, 5 or 6 seconds. That can easily cost you 2 positions. So I actually went around, but I could tell, that the guys were, definitely, gaining the time about 2 seconds a lap. So, of course, when that happened, we stopped for the tires, and the funny thing was that I qualified on pole position, and me, and I believe it's Gabriel Bortoleto, the reigning F2 champion, were the only drivers who have gotten the grid penalty, and he started last, and he was just behind me, just 3 seconds, you know, so I couldn't believe, you know, just how the mighty has fallen. And you know, I was actually quite pleased when I emerged 11th. You know, I actually just made it. You can see it on the exclusive Formula 1 highlights. But from then on, once I was on the intermediates, I pretty much continued with that pace. And then higher wing setup really started to work miracles, right? So very quickly, you know, I dispatched Hajar. Then when, you know, after, you know, Hülkenberg pretty much caught him within just a couple of corners, because suddenly, you know, especially as there was less water, I was really able, you know, it was perfect setup, I believe, for the conditions to go through, for example, the left field, but especially Beckett's and Beckett's so quickly, even going through the stove, that I was easily shaving second or 2 seconds, you know, of the guys in front, and I started, you know, with an amazing comeback, obviously, you know, fitting for the day after the Independence Day, you know, where you write your own history as the Jan Smalingsa champion. I just went for it, you know, I started banging in the fastest laps. Obviously, I've seen Lewis Hamilton, Lando Norris, you know, trading in the fastest lap, so I knew we had the ultimate pace, but it was difficult to show it in the traffic, right? So, you know, once I was, you know, able to clear, especially Antonelli with Alonso, which, you know, I was a little bit on the grass as well, overtaking Alonso, then, you know, I immediately started to pull like 2 seconds a lap on Antonelli, and you know, started catching guys like, for example, Albon, and then of course Piastri as well, you know, the villain who really cost me over here. And you know, it was kind of in the mid-race when I overtook him, and you know, suddenly Lewis Hamilton, you know, after I think 18, 19, 20th lap, maybe, you know, had a collision or some problem with the wing, I'm not sure. But, you know, he was the only one who actually, because we all started on a full wets, we switched to the intermediates, but he switched to the inters very early. I think he wanted to undercut the drivers, but obviously we knew that the intermediates can last for 53, 54 laps. So basically you could do the whole race distance. You already had that mandatory stop, even though in the wet conditions, you don't really need to stop again. And yeah, you know, that meant that Hamilton was behind, but he didn't have much more of a pace than I did, right? So only just a couple of tenths. And of course, you know, once I overtook, you know, like for example Alonso or Antonelli or Piastri, it took Hamilton, you know, a bit longer to get through. So you can see at the finishing line he was over 10 seconds behind, despite having 15, 16 laps fresher intermediates, right? And you know, then when I emerged with about 25 laps to go, and I saw almost 20 seconds to Russell and Verstappen and Norris at the 4th place, you know, I was like, okay, let's go for a podium, right? If we really wanted to get the 10th podium over here of the season, our 80th podium overall for Scuderia Ferrari, because we kind of knew that, you know, that 64th victory and obviously the 5th victory this season, the 4th victory over here was a long try, but at least, you know, we could have caught Russell, and we only did make one mistake, obviously, heading out of the stall where we outbrake ourselves. But yeah, apart from that, you know, I was just magnificent, you know, catching by over a second, sometimes even 2 seconds a lap. And, you know, of course, you know, that also meant once I've gotten into P4 that I would be, you know, then holding the lead of the championship, but it would shrink, the lead would shrink from 11 to obviously only 5 points, because Verstappen was getting 18, I was getting 12, and then you know, was basically relentless, you know, and you know, this really shows you that when you put the pressure even on some of the season champions, they can crack. Verstappen did crack, damage his car, had to stop, eventually finished 5th, and I was like celebrating, oh yeah, because not only will I be on the podium, but I was pretty much already on Russell's, you know, tail. With about 4 or 5 laps to go, you know, overtook him again heading into the final chicane, right in front of that podium where I was hoping I would get that shiny golden Formula 1 Grand Prix winner trophy, that royal one. The Great Britain obviously has the best trophies, but Norris, you know, half a minute down the road, because obviously he had the fresh air, and this is what I was supposed to have, right? So McLaren gotten their first victory, but it's a little bit dirty by what obviously Piastri did to me. You know, I definitely deserve to be the winner. It's very clear I was the fastest driver, but in the end, I didn't get over here my 6 fastest laps of the season, my 4 fastest laps here, and of course the 66 of my career, because due to the fact that Verstappen, he stopped, right, and then had the fresher intermediates, he was able to beat it. But at certain times, you know, as you will see, I was easily over a second faster than anybody else, including Norris, and it's just a pity, right, when you catch, you know, a guy like Russell, it takes a couple of laps to overtake him, then you lose 3 or 5 seconds to the guy who's running in front, right, without having to defend or anything. So yeah, it definitely cost me, that grid penalty, because I think I would have been able to hold on to the lead or maybe just lose a couple of positions. But then, I would still be maybe running 5th, 6th at worst, right? And then I would find the pace and I would just, eat them one by one, which didn't happen. Especially with Hamilton obviously stopping, at that point, perhaps Norris, I'm not sure how close he was, behind him, but maybe by the time I would already be attacking Norris. And it could have been a remarkable victory, very similar to what happened in 2017 when I won from 20th on the grid in also kind of changeable conditions. So what a pity, because this would have been absolutely magnificent, great performance, championship-like performance. And of course the good thing is that we actually extended our lead by more than what we did in the previous round, right? This is obviously already round 12. At round 11 in Austria on the Red Bull Ring, we've gotten 7 points on the Red Bull. Here we've gotten 8 points on the Red Bull Villain, despite the fact that for most of the times we were running behind. So great result, and it's kind of the halfway stage of the season, even though we still haven't done even the 3 sprints. You can see over here that we are, we having a good, comfortable lead of the championship. 19 points, almost 1 race distance. So let's go to Belgium, win the race, win the sprint, and then of course we will be heading into the summer break as the leaders, where we really should have been. So over here, overall, I have to say, I greatly enjoyed it. I think the battery, management, everything was great. I was really turning off the battery. It was the quickest way to go because you don't want to have too much torque. It was raining constantly, but unlike in Australia, where I actually also finished over half a minute behind but George Russell, but I was pretty much not competitive. I lost it from the lead. Here I came back to again P2, and the feeling is pretty much exact opposite, right? Yeah, it's like a magnetic poles, north and south. So over here, let's take a look at the official race highlights. Because again, this was just a stunking lap, laps that I was putting in. Yeah, obviously you can see over here that I was, almost a second quicker than, for example, Hamilton over here. So yes, let's go right up here and let's go to the official race highlights. So are you guys ready? Of course you are. Let's go race. Can you see anything? You can hardly see anything, but the Scarlet Red Ferrari of Jan, the Smelixan champion, is attacking. But obviously over here you can see a bit of a touch there with Albon, who immediately lost the position to Alonso. And over here, I'm heading there, but obviously, I don't know, right? I don't want to do, the full throttle spin out or anything. So you can see, there's a lot of infighting. Lewis Hamilton almost 2 seconds ahead. So I was surprised that Lewis just didn't go for it. But here you can see he lost the position to Alonso after that corner. Wow, look at that touch, with Antonelli and Benz over here. Also Albon went through, and I was really struggling. But here, coming out of the pits, that really, helped out a lot. So over here, you can see, that I was able, to get right in front of the Cola Pinto. Obviously, we have the same ratings over there, and very quickly, pretty much, I then overtook Hülkenberg, which was great. I had so much of a traction, and then went after Hajar, and obviously, then Antonelli, as well. This is the move of Hajar. Check this out. Let's go again. Yeah, very good, excellent job. And that was absolutely critical over here. And you can see it took 10 laps, right? Then to catch up with Alonso and Antonelli. And this is a move. Look at this. We will be on the grass. Come on, Jan! Wow! Oh my God! Look at it. I was sliding, but avoided Antonelli. Avoided Alonso. I actually previously wanted to, overtake the young Italian, and heading into turn 3, but just went straight. Here the race really could have ended here, but once I cleared these two, fighting, youngest and oldest driver on the grid, that was really critical over here. And very quickly, this is after Hamilton stopped, so he's behind, but now I'm behind Piastri. This is really the man who's cost me my 4th Grand Prix victory here at the Great Britain. And look at this move. Champion move! Yay! Yes, and very important move, You can see I immediately, pull some distance, and this is against Russell. This is for P2. Let's go, Jan! Yeah! Yeah! We got it! Yes, Yes, and yeah, obviously Russell still, is kind of in the title fight, right? A little bit, outside. Again, I would say, in terms of how many points he's got, but yeah, that definitely felt sweet, to overtake the homeboy with just a couple of laps to go. So over here, let's take a look at the Drivers' Championship and how it looks like. So over here, you can see that I am leading Jan Lucia for Scuderia Ferrari, leading with 233 points over here, having a 19-point lead from second place, Max Verstappen for Red Bull, who is on 214 points. Third is George Russell, Mercedes-AMG Petronas, 183 points. Now full 2 race distances now behind. I overtook him on the track and pretty much bye-bye, see you after the summer, even though I wouldn't compete in the next 2 rounds. So you can see Russell still in a title fight, but obviously now, he's again lost the ground, and such overtake is actually worth 6 points, right? You go from 15 to 18, but he goes from 18 to 15, so you can see what impact it can have. Fourth, Lewis Hamilton for Scuderia Ferrari, 144 points. Again, we have to investigate what happened with that pit stop, because now Lando Norris is fifth for McLaren on 142 points, right or hard on his heels. 6, Oscar Piastri, McLaren, 112 points. 7, Fernando Alonso, Aston Martin, 75 points. 8 is Yuki Tsunoda, Red Bull, 42 points. 9, Alexander Albon, Williams, 33 points. 10 is Pierre Gasly, Alpine, who's on 28 points, and courtesy, obviously, of having scored the higher results, he is in front of the Andrea Kimi Antonelli, who is leading over here at the bottom half. So you can see he's 11th for Mercedes-AMG Petronas, 28 points. 12th is then Carlos Sainz, Williams, 24 points. That would be for the top 6 teams. And then we have, well, kind of, right, because of Lance Stroll. 13, we then have Esteban Ocon has 9 points. 14 is the Nico Hülkenberg, Kick Sauber, 8 points. Almost cost us that Austrian race, let's not forgive him. 15, Isaac Hadjar, Visa Kesha Racing Bulls on 4 points. 16 is Lance Stroll, Aston Martin, 2 points. 17, Liam Lawson, Visa Kesha Racing Bulls, 2 points. 18, Oliver Berman has 1 point only. 19, Gabriel Bortoleto, 0 points. 20th, Franco Colapinto, 0 points. I was actually close to them at the entry and exit of the pits respectively. So yeah, over here, this is how it looks like. When it comes to the Constructors' Championship, again, this was a great result for us, but we shouldn't be giving up race victories. So Scuderia Ferrari leading with 377 points, a lead of amazing 121 points. So if you think about it, there are 43 points on offer, unless we go obviously to the sprint weekends when there are 58 on offer. That's almost 3 race distances. So hey, we could definitely be celebrating in Las Vegas. Second, Red Bull, 256 points. Third, McLaren, 254 points. Then Norris, his first victory of the season when he became the 5th driver to win in the 12th Grand Prix over here this season. That obviously pushed them very close to that 2nd place. Fourth, Mercedes-AMG Petronas, 211 points, kind of losing touch there. 5th, Aston Martin, 77 points. 6th, Williams, 57 points. 7 is Alpine, 28 points. 8, Haas, 10 points. 9, Kick Sauber, 8 points. And 10th is Visa Kesha Racing Bulls for 6 points. So this is how the table looks like over here. And let's take a look at our drivers' rating. So for the driver's rating, it looks good with experience at 65. Again, I pretty much drove like, the most experienced driver on the grid today. Racecraft is at 72, awareness at 71. Pace at 77, because Verstappen took that fastest lap. That cost us quite a lot of points in the pace. Focus at 80, and the overall rating stays at 74. But you can see some market improvements. So even though we actually haven't, in any of the kind of categories, we haven't actually improved by a margin of 1 over here during the race. That's definitely not going to be the case during the Belgium Grand Prix weekend, because we are very close to improving much more and more significantly. Then here, so you can see for the recognition, so it stays 41% for me, 59 for Lewis Hamilton. I kind of wish I went to 45 quicker. And for the specialists, so this is very, very important over here, because this will aid us in developing again the major upgrades. So manufacturing expert stays at 1, but it's almost at 2. So again, that can make sure that there won't be any issues with the manufacturing parts, like with that, for example, improve reliability of our turbo. Power unit consultant is now now at 1, and that's the new perk unlock, so that will help us to develop the powertrain, especially the engine, and obviously also the energy store, the battery. Material fabrication planner also gotten to 1 over here, so again, you know, we can use the best materials, and quality assurance tester at 1, also new perk unlock over there. So now they are all at once, and that obviously means, you know, that we can develop even quicker, because we are, you know, running away in a development race, and pretty much, you know, this is how you can really get to dominate in Formula 1. So over here, let's take a look at, you know, this, which is the rivalry. So we will start over here with the teammate rivalry. So as you can see over here, okay, you know, I'm celebrating, so, you know, I'm definitely, you know, beating Lewis Hamilton over here 5-0, as you can see, but the critical rivalry is the championship rivalry. So Jan Luksha 233 points, Max Verstappen 240, let's go Smiling Sun champion! Yeah, you can see, you know, we love to make him cry, you know, so this is a great result. But again, it's, you know, I find it interesting because, you know, they always increasing the target. Now it's 41 points to win. So, you know, the next 2 races, if I win them, I should win them. Or is it that I'm gonna win the championship? Let me know! Yeah! So over here, that would be for the championship rivalry, and you know, because we haven't gotten to the 75, so yeah, here with Franco Colapinto, you know, we are, you know, there, but you can see that pretty much from the next race, you know, again, there will be many more, you know, points on offer. We could get to 75. If we get to 76, we will win, which will be great for our focus, which will also be great for the overall rating. So over here, yeah, this is how it looks like, and now we will, of course, you know, go and celebrate over here. You know, we will take a look at one of the most amazing trophies here in Formula 1. Look at that fist over here. You know, so obviously, yeah, I would be very happy about that, because yeah, what a race that was. So over here, everybody, let's enjoy it. Forza Ferrari!
Yes, mate, I'll take that. Well done. We're really happy with the podium there. So well done. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, fantastic result. You know, and yeah, I'm proud of the day. Yes, this is what we really wanted to show you guys.
Go, for Lando Norris
Yeah.
as he takes the checker flag.
Because, yeah, again, you know, congratulations to Mercedes over there. Not bad, you know, but yeah, you can see obviously, you know, the fact that we made it on the podium, and the fact that Norris, you know, got a bit lucky with Hamilton, you know, obviously stopping, you know, yeah, what a pity, you know, I really wanted to win here, but, you know, when it's another British driver winning, yeah, obviously, you know, the podium, they will be very happy, but I've gotten the driver of the day. You know, I've gotten it a lot last season, but this season it was tough. So over here, let's check that beautiful shiny golden trophy. Yeah! Wow!
Lando Norris, head and shoulders above.
Wow! Yeah! That's a trophy, guys. That's a trophy. Yeah. So, you know, yeah, I love to receive it. Obviously, yeah, great. Obviously, podium over here. Yeah, and I'll celebrate it. So I have the small silver one this time, but yeah, I increased the lead in the Drivers' Championship. Yeah, the Smiling Sun champion. He's such a great champion. Oh, la 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 la. You know, and this result.
To another fantastic weekend of racing.
Will really give us lots of confidence. You know, I mean, you guys, you know, this was great, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I really hope you did, and I cannot wait for the second part of the season. Obviously, we will be going to Belgium, where we might be encountering, you know, the same weather, but where we were absolutely flying, you know, equaling Michael Schumacher's, you know, pretty much, you know, breaking his record, I believe, you know, with you know, 13 out of 14 wins of the first 14 races, which only him and I have achieved. And, you know, I definitely want to win in Belgium again, so definitely stay tuned. What a pity that we couldn't celebrate here with the medal and the shiny golden, the real shiny golden Formula 1 Grand Prix winner trophy. But again, you know what has happened. Yeah, sadly, we were kind of hard done by, you know, by PS3 there. So, you know, you always have to stay focused. You know, one little mistake like this, you know, and it could have been been all different. You know, we could have been leading the championship, obviously by a much greater margin, by 26 points. So that would have been great. Yeah, so overall, you know, it was an exciting race, but the fact that we were so competitive in such challenging conditions, you know, that really pleases my heart over here. And after celebrating that happy birthday, happy wedding anniversary victory, you know, my new age sort of couldn't have started better. Just like the summer over here, you can see it's sunny there, mostly in Great Britain. I hope it's sunny everywhere you go. You guys enjoy the beautiful sunny weather. We will see you very soon for the continuation of this exciting Formula 1 2025-2025 World Drivers' Championship and the Constructors' Championship, as we're chasing our 5th title for